Hello, hello, my name is Harlee Pope and it's story time. So a few weeks back I returned home from a trip and my boyfriend picked me up from the airport. We remembered that our friend's roller derby tournament was happening in Atlanta locally, right where we were, and he was like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, okay. So he took me to the derby put on by Atlanta Roller Girls, and we walked in. I didn't really know what to expect at first because I had never been to one of these, and when the girl put a wristband on me, she said, good luck in there, and slapped a new to derby sticker on my chest. So I knew I was in for some sort of crazy surprise. So we get in there and sit down, and I locate my friend on the derby team, and minded, she is the tiniest person on the team. No joke, 4'8". So all the girls are warming up on the side in their adorable outfits, and they're like almost like costumes. They have beautiful glitter and sewn stuff into them and patches, and their hair's all done, and they have glittery lips and lots of makeup on, and each one of them has a super cool stage name that when the announcer calls it, they go onto the rink and do a really cool dance move. So I was like, all right. I didn't know too much about this sport before going into it, so when the buzzer went off and the women started literally ramming into each other so the other team's opponent couldn't skate through, I was completely in awe. There were all these people dressed in costume walking around the arena trying to hype everyone up, and that was when I realized I feel like I'm at a performance. These girls were completely badass. They were confident in themselves on that rink and totally took control of it. It was like a stage. They kept breaking the fourth wall to scream at the audience, and it seemed like such a great outlet to be playing a sport on a team of such supportive women. I later learned that my friend's mom was on her team as well, and that made the whole game complete, honestly. The link to their website is in the description below if anyone is in the Atlanta area and wants to attend. It was such an amazing and unexpected experience. That is when I really began thinking about how many amazing women go out of their comfort zones to make an awesome impact on America. For Theater History 2, we are reading out of the History of Theater by Oscar G. Brockett, and chapter 14 is what struck me the most. Specifically, all the incredible women who have made an impact on the history of America. Women have continuously fought for equality throughout the decades, and we unfortunately are still making efforts today. I feel that we have come a long way in the basic women's rights because we now actually have a voice, but that doesn't mean we don't have a long way to go still. According to Brockett, the last half of the 19th century brought many changes to Western Europe. The revolutions that occurred in 1848 caused society to yearn for political, economic, and social change. While improvements in society quickly began to occur, none of them seemed to include women. And that is why theater was an early gateway for women to really make an impact in society. Also partly why it's so important for me. Actress Lotta Crabtree stuck out to me from Brockett's textbook, and she was a young American star who was on stage by 8 in 1852. She was one of the first female actresses with a claim to fame in that time. She played lots of versatile characters because that is truly what people love to see, is versatility and someone that isn't afraid to break out of their comfort zone in the acting field. Mrs. John Drew was another child star who grew to be a fabulous director of the Arch Street Theater in 1878, and she had some great impacts on society, according to Brockett in our textbook. Something I also found really interesting from my research was from the U.S. History Crash Course video entitled Women in the 19th Century. The commentator, John Green, discussed Harriet Beecher Stowe, author of Uncle Tom's Cabin, the novel that introduced millions of Americans to the idea that women as well as African American people are actually people. Also from the History Crash Course video, I learned about Sarah and Angela Grimke. They were daughters of a slaveholder who became outspoken critics of abolishing slavery. But in 1838, Sarah Grimke published the Letters on the Equality of the Sexes and the Condition of Women of 1838, both which impacted women's rights throughout America greatly. She argued that God had made the sexes equal, but that men had created women's inferior condition by denying them opportunity and forcing them to do their bidding. Sarah also sought to demolish the concept of separate spheres of influence for men and women. She insisted that women had the same rights and duties as men and should be able to participate fully in education, religion, work, and politics, including the abolition movement. Her writing was so powerful that it is said to have helped lay the groundwork for the Civil War. She was influential for both her writings and her public stances on social issues of that day. Another great example of bravery portrayed by a woman in history was when I recently saw the matinee performance of Indecent on Broadway, written by the amazing Paula Vogel. It won the Tony Award this year for Best Play. It is a true story inspired by the extremely controversial stage play The God of Vengeance, written by Shalom Ash. It is the story of how controversial this script was and surrounds the main character, Shalom Ash, and it's about two Jewish women in love in the 1920s. The show was very successful overseas, but when it came to Broadway in America, it received so much backlash from the Jewish culture that the cast was arrested and had to fight for their freedom of speech. The show ends in the height of World War II, where they were not only fighting for their right to portray lesbian love on stage, but they were fighting for their lives. It was such an impactful performance that I left the show in tears. This play definitely deserved the Tony. There is so much more to it, and I highly recommend reading the script or going to see it if you get a chance. It was absolutely incredible. Recently, I attended an art gallery by another amazing woman, Nicole Abdel-Noor. She is an aspiring artist from Venezuela who now lives in New York, and I got the pleasure of getting to attend one of her art shows while visiting in Brooklyn. Her most recent installment is entitled Slave of Light, and I thought it was such a beautiful futuristic approach at art. I love everything she is about as an artist, and she is just one of those many women that continue to inspire me every day to continue moving forward in my dreams. By living out her passions, anyone who views her art will be inspired to live out their own. The link to Nicole's website is also listed below in the description if you'd like to learn more about her story. It is my hope that I grow up to be one of the amazing artistic women that continue to think outside the box, fight for what they believe in, and constantly continue to make history.
I'd rather have everything than nothing at all.